Well, apparently, Bella, the great news is that, as we all suspected all along, Indigenous Australians were aeronautical engineers capable of all sorts of extraordinary advances, and they invented the drone. Tell us about it.
This is the latest narrative that has been embedded into the national curriculum, which ACARA is trying to push through into our education system at the moment. What we've found is that we did an FOI of ACARA to find out exactly who is on the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Advisory Committee, who's writing this stuff, who's coming up with these historical inaccuracies. Turns out they're the most hardcore, left-wing, deeply resentful activists who despise everything about Australia, who hate Australia, who they think they think Australia shouldn't actually exist. And they're actually the people who are writing the curriculum. But they're not only writing the history curriculum, they're actually writing the maths curriculum, the geography, English, health and physical education. Every aspect of the curriculum has now been written by these hardcore activists.
And so tell us about the drones. Where did the drones come from? How do we make this leap?
Well, apparently the ancient Greeks had nothing to do with it. We went from the boomerang to throwing the boomerang, to noticing that there was some kind of propelling motion, to discovering the laws of gravity in flight, and then that turned into drones, which now actually watch out for sharks on our beaches. So this is the connection that they make. This is a connection that one of the activists actually made on Q&A. That isn't written overtly into the curriculum, but if you look at the science curriculum, every aspect of whatever they're teaching does have a sense that the Indigenous history in society was as equally sophisticated technologically as Western societies, which everyone knows is demonstrably false.
Rita.
Well, it is demonstrably false, but that doesn't seem to matter. The facts don't seem to matter other than the feelings and the narrative. But Bella, given that we've got a Conservative government in power, how do we have these hard left Australian-loathing activists determining the curriculum? Who's appointing them? How does that come about?
That's a very good question. I mean, it's really faceless bureaucrats that are appointing these people on the advisory committee. We know now who these people are, but the question is who's been appointing them and how's it happened under a coalition government. The good news is that the current Education Minister, Tudge, knows about this now, and he's very concerned about it, just as we are. And I think he's determined to do something about it. He's actually making all the right the noises, and he's very concerned. We will.
James.
Well, the thing is, these Conservative ministers do make all the right noises, but then nothing gets done. This seems to be just a pattern where, yes, they realise there's public outrage with what our children are being taught, this absolute idiocy that's overtaken the curriculum, but it doesn't actually have any sort of meaningful change. Do you think this time around Alan Tudge is actually going to do something about this?
Well, I think this time around it's so overt and so obvious that it's impossible not to do anything about it. So, for example, the current F to 6 maths curriculum has Indigenous or Aboriginal mentioned 4 times. The new curriculum, the one they want to impose on us, has Aboriginal and Indigenous or First Nations references 84 times. This is in the maths curriculum of primary school students. So it is so overt, and it is so over the top. They've kind of gone too far. They've actually overstepped. They've been given this. All their Christmases must have come at once, going, do what you want with the curriculum. And they've gone so far, and it's so ridiculous that something will be done. And I'm very positive. I'm very optimistic that they've actually overstepped the mark this time.
James.
But isn't the problem, Bella, that the entire curriculum has been designed with what are called cross-curricular priorities in mind, and those are Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander affairs, they are sustainability, and they're Australia and the Asian environment. Isn't the problem here that all of these things force all of these essentially political agendas, particularly around Indigenous material and particularly around environmental material, into every single subject area? I mean, one of the things that I believe you discovered in your FOI request was that every single subject area had been touched by this group, including physical education. Isn't the solution to get rid of these cross-curricular priorities so you don't have to have this stuff, you don't have this way in for the activists to get in and rewrite the curriculum?
Absolutely, James. We've been saying this for 10 years at the Institute of Public Affairs. Take out the cross-curriculum priorities. They were written with the idea, they were ideological when they were put in, and they're still ideological. And as you say, that this is being shown in the fact that every single subject has a cross-curriculum priority put in, and that once those are taken out, then you declutter the curriculum, you take out the ideology, and you start again. If I didn't know any better, I would say that ACARA is doing its best to dumb down students, to make them invincibly ignorant, and to turn them into activists. The Indigenous cross-curriculum priority is not the only problem. We also have sustainability. The curriculum that they're trying to push through is really turning children into climate change activists. Climate change is incontestable as a fact, whereas something like Australia Day or Anzac Day is contestable. I mean, it's so skewed, but it is so overt and it is so hardcore, it is so left, that I think that this is actually a good thing, because parents are now saying, what on earth are they teaching my children? People are actually waking up. The current curriculum is a little bit more subtle. This one, there is just no doubt what the agenda is.
Bella de Brera, it's so great to have you keeping an eye on all this, and you are 100% correct. It is down to the parents. Bella, outsiders viewers out there, Bella can only do so much. Bella does a brilliant job, but she can only highlight the problem. It's up to the parents and the grandparents to front up to the schools and say, this garbage must stop, or get your kid out and get them into a different school. It's really critical. Great job you do, Bella de Brera. Thanks so much at the IPA there, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks very much.